how amazing this performer was. And the question comes from Rachel Crane on Facebook, if you're out there. This is more of a story question. If Obi Wan was able to actually raise Luke and Leia, what do you think he would have done differently? That's from Rachel Crane.
Well, I don't think he would have been very. One of the arc of the series is that Obi Wan learns that these kids need to be kids. They need to have the experience of childhood. I think there were some other earlier drafts where I know this was more present in the story. I guess that Obi Wan wanted to train Luke, and there were some other. I think in the earlier drafts there were scenes with him and Owen. More sort of disagreements about how Luke should be brought up. And I think, Obi-Wan is pretty much by the book, and I think there's a certain way that the Jedi have been trained in the past, and certainly he talks about it with her in the transporter there, that he was taken from his family when he was very young, and he remembers that it might have been a brother. Well, I think that's probably how he would have raised Luke, but he learns through the experience of going on this massive adventure with Leia that he has to respect the child's childhood and he needs to. That's why he walks away at the end and leaves Luke with Owen and Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, and I guess we don't know quite what happens next, but hopefully we'll find out.
Season 2. You guys don't want
Season 2, kids.
Surprise for fans when Leia became a central character. I think based off of the trailers and the great secrecy, we were expecting more of like how Obi-Wan kind of sticks around with Luke. But you kind of leave Luke to the side and go off and help Leia on this journey. Was that always part of the storyline that they were thinking about for this, or when did you know that we focused on Leia as opposed to Luke?
Yeah, no, it was going to be a story about me, but yeah, it was always going to be that. And that was one of the genius moments where everyone went with it and then changed it to be. I think that's the beautiful thing about how passionate Disney, Lucasfilm, all of us are who are involved in it. From the beginning, is to try really hard not to let anything out the bag. Just to protect your experience of seeing it for the first time. I think it's really cool that Disney and Lucasfilm care so much that you're, for the fans' experience, really want you to have 100%
Fuck Disney.
The first time you see it. And if you've read this and that,
Disney Star Wars sucks except Obi Wan.
It's a shame, isn't it? It's like looking at your Christmas presents before Christmas Day. It reminds me of a bad joke about Darth Vader. I felt your presence. Anyway, that's another story. But anyway, I don't know that we did. I don't know if we kept it a secret that it was about Leia. There might have been some. Anyway, for a lot of people, if it was a surprise, I'm glad, because it's pretty cool that it was a story about him and Leia.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to move away from Star Wars for a sec. The other film that I mentioned at the beginning and you said that got the biggest cheer, one of my favorite musicals of all time, Moulin Rouge, everybody. This is another fan question from @HawkMothMoon. Now being in Moulin Rouge and then also Lumiere, Beauty and the Beast, they're wondering, would you go back and take another singing role if something came up? But yeah, the fans actually want.
Yeah, I'd love to. I did a musical on stage. I did Guys and Dolls in London a wee while ago, and I loved that. I've always loved singing. I've always loved music, and I find that singing as part of storytelling is really effective. It's if you're singing "I love you" to someone, it hits the audience in maybe a deeper place than if you're just saying it. So I love it. I literally don't get offered many because there aren't many around. I guess there's not many musicals made. But I'm involved in Guillermo del Toro's new version of Pinocchio, and it's possible that I have a number in that. Candlestick cricket. What's next? Who else can sing?
and cricket, you know, what's great for the resident. This question comes from David Holovic and Ewan Daly. They said, American Pastoral, incredible film. Loved your direction of it. Oh, and yeah, they were just wondering if you would have any desire to return to directing again.
Yes.
Sure.
I really loved it. I think it's true to say it was quite hard to, when the film came out, it was made for the cinema, and it was, who knows why films don't perform well, but it didn't perform very well, and that was quite hard to take after. I've had movies, lots of movies that didn't perform very well in the box office as an actor, and in a way that's just the way the world goes. But when you've spent a year and a half of your life directing something, and it really is a different experience, and I found that quite hard. So however, my experience of making the movie was amazing, and it was everything I wanted it to be. I've been making films since I was 20 years old, and for 31 years now. And then I've just worked with an awful lot of the world's great directors, so I've got an awful lot of experience. I know what I like when I'm working as an actor, and therefore I sort of made that film the way I would like to have been directed in it. It was so great because occasionally I was lucky to have Jennifer Connelly playing opposite me, and we would a lot of scenes were just the two of us, and I always, before we start shooting any scene, I would always clear everyone out and say, okay, I'm just going to work with the actors myself, because that's what Danny Boyle did with us, and a lot of great directors just get everybody out of the way, and it's just the director and the actors. But in that case, it was just me and Jennifer, so we like rehearsing these scenes, and it felt like we were just making a movie without a director. It was great. It was great. So I'd love to do it again, but I think my experience of it taught me that you can't do it just as I knew that already, but I could never do it just as a job. You have to really need to tell a story in order to dedicate that amount of time and energy and passion to. So I'm just sort of waiting to find out what that next story is.
You've performed in so many different genres of film. We mentioned musicals, war movies, and action movies, and dramas, and all. Is there a particular genre that you find yourself being drawn to from a director's standpoint?
No, I feel like with American Pastoral, it was a bit like somebody's second movie. It was a classical film. It was shot very classically. It was a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel. There was a lot of otherness to it. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't just a new story to people. It was a story that people knew and many people loved. And so I feel like in a way I would want to go back and make my first movie something a bit more rough and ready, less budget, maybe with young actors, probably not be in it this time, just direct. So maybe that's what I would like to do, go back and make my first movie. Yeah.
That's awesome. You mentioned one of the amazing directors you worked with, one of my favorite, Danny Boyle.
Yeah.
Fans out there.
28 Days Later, Slumdog, Trainspotting.
Fan Rachel Marlene Stark. Would you care to show any insight into what it was like coming back to roles such as Mark Renton? What was it like coming back?
T2.
Well, it was very similar to coming back to Obi Wan. It was like effortless in a way. I mean, my first scene, they started trying to, I was working on something in the States, and Johnny Lee Miller was involved, and he was in Elemental, the TV show here in the States, and so he only had a certain gap in his schedule, so they had to start a week before I could make it there, and it was really the idea that they'd started filming. So I turned up for my first day, and I joined the lunch queue, and Ewan Bremner was standing in the lunch queue, and I was like, standing with Ewan going, what? It was so bizarre. And then my first scene was the first time that Brenton meets Sick Boy again. So literally my first scene was walking in the door of the pub, and Johnny looks up and goes, "All right, Rance." And it was like nothing had happened for 20 years. It was just exactly back to square one. It was amazing. And it was so lovely to, I love Danny Boyle, I love his work, and I loved working with him. And then we had a long period of time where we just didn't work together. So for me, that was the most amazing thing. It was coming back to those actors, working with Bobby and Johnny and Ewan again, and then and Kelly as well, Kelly MacDonald, and then also to work being on Danny Boyle's set was very special to me.
This question comes up a lot at Comic-Cons. You were able to join the DC universe, as Black Mask, which is so awesome. And so this question comes from a fan as well. From Rory on Facebook. If you could join the Marvel universe as any superhero, who would you come in as? Or supervillain?
I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know that I want to do that.
That's an answer. That's a simple answer.
I don't think so. I mean, because I love doing all different kinds of work. It's true, and I like to direct, and I like to be in the theatre again, and I'd like to focus on, when I definitely want to do this again. I'm in the Star Wars world, and I love that, and I feel like I don't need another. I'm not looking for that anyway. I shouldn't say I wouldn't do it, because 2 years' time you'll be like, you said you weren't going to do this. Right. But I'm not looking for it particularly.
we got a Star Wars is better anyway, right here.
You said it, not me.
Let's get back to Star Wars. Okay, fan question. Obi Wan is a very wise soul, and we've been able to see multiple generations of fans of the Star Wars universe, through the originals and the prequels, and now again with everything that Disney's doing. This comes from Sean Craven on YouTube. For those of us that have children, I know you have some, just starting to explore the world of Star Wars, what's one thing we can do as parents that we can do or share to ensure they have an amazing time joining the Force? So advice for parents with passing.
We're doing it. I think we're so much closer to our children than in our generations past. I think that's the best thing. I think listening to them and being there for them, and but also being a parent to them, and kids look for boundaries, and I think they look to their parents to give them those. So I think that's important as well. To I recognise a lot of my parenting from my mum and dad. I think we learn how to live from our parents in a way. I love my mum and dad very much, and I've had a great childhood, so I'm sure there's lots of them. Yeah, got to be there for your kids and listen to them. None of my kids watch Star Wars. None of my girls do. They just, I don't know, I think it's probably because at school, it must be like, they don't really talk to me about it, but I think the experience of being Obi Wan's daughter at school must just be such a pain in the ass, So I don't know, maybe they just like it's a reaction against that. It's so funny, they've no idea. I'm not that up in Star Wars, but they really don't know what's going on.
One of my favorite parts of the new series was how they brought back the theme. John Williams' original Obi Wan theme. And to hear that, just again, what was it like hearing that? Have you watched it, with the music and everything? Yeah, was it like sort of feeling that the vibe of the Star Wars?
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
When I leave,
it was amazing. It was amazing that John agreed to do it.
Okay.
He didn't necessarily give his music to the television series, and indeed we were only allowed to use some of his, the Force theme stuff in our very last episode, which I thought was kind of moving in itself. When you finally hear it in episode 6, like your heart breaks. So, but when he recorded Obi Wan's theme up, it was one of the very first times that the orchestras were allowed to play together because of COVID protocols, and Disney are really, really, strict about that kind of thing, as they need to be, and as they should be. So John really was to persuade Disney to allow him to conduct the whole orchestra together, not just section by section, which would have been the case in the weeks before that. But because of that, they didn't allow anybody to go as a guest. And I tried every which way I could to be allowed. They recorded in LA, and I was in LA. But still, I was just sent a link, so I was able to listen to it live in my lounge, but I wasn't able to see it, which was a shame. But I thought it was brilliant. He said he never wrote a theme for Obi Wan in the original films, and so he felt like he owed him one, which was nice.
Oh, it's so good. And shout out to Ashley on Facebook for the question about the theme song. Thank you, all the fans who came out. This is one of our biggest fan expo Bostons ever, and I think it's because we have one of our biggest guests ever.
Yeah.
One final thing, we're about out of time, but we had a lot of fans ask questions about what your favorite scene, what your favorite moment. So we're going to play a quick rapid fire game of what's your favorite Star Wars. Are you ready, Mr. Ewan McGregor? Okay. Are you ready? Yes. Okay, here we go. There's no wrong answer. This is all you. Okay. What's your favorite planet? Tatooine or Naboo?
Naboo would be nicer for a holiday, wouldn't it?
What is your favorite pet? A porg or an Ewok?
Oh, it would be my Eope, it would be my camel. I mean, it's not one of the two.
Correct answer. 2 for 2. Favorite weapon? Lightsaber or blaster?
Lightsaber.
Yeah.
Favorite droid? C-3PO or R2-D2?
Oh!
Oh, we've run out of time for that one.
Is Anthony still in the building?
That's okay. Favorite ship?
Yeah!
Okay. Favorite ship? An X-Wing or a TIE Fighter?
X-Wing.
Yeah. Favorite Padawan? Anakin or Luke? Anakin. Yeah.
Whoa, yeah.
All right, favorite fight? We talked about both of them. Darth Vader or Darth Maul?
I think the Darth Maul.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Favorite co-pilot? Qui-Gon Jinn or Chewbacca?
I'd like to have flown with Chewbacca. I didn't. So I would, I would say Chewbacca anyway.
Yeah, this is if you want to pick one.
Yeah. Chewbacca.
Yeah. The last one, favorite order, Jedi or Sith?
Come on.
Yeah!
I'll just say just quickly, I just had such a lovely time here the last couple of days with you all. It's great to have met the people I did, and thanks for coming, making me feel so welcome and special. Thank you very much.
Yeah! Tack.